So we got to talk about Tenet. What does it mean? Where does it come from? Did you use that because it was just a palindrome? Is that why? I got a couple of spoilers coming up. I'm just gonna dive in. If you haven't seen Tenet and you don't have the luxury of being in the US and having an IMAX theater near you where you can watch it, I pity you. At some point, you'll be able to watch it and come back to this video, but I'm gonna talk about it. Let's start off by saying, I think everyone should watch this movie. I'm a Chris Nolan fan, and I think this movie works super. It's a Chris Nolan movie. My approach to any sort of art pretty much is, it doesn't really matter whether or not I like it. I like knowing that someone made art that is theirs. And I think Tenet is another great painting in Chris Nolan's body of work. The strange question marks that come up in your head as you're watching people ungrab things and undraw things and unmake things while things are being made. That to me is like, that's the artistry of it. The film to me is a vehicle for us to think and talk about being able to unmake and go back in time while we're making stuff forwards in time. And these are things that I think about a lot in terms of, we're all gonna die. My favorite topic. We're all gonna die. And I often think about what it would be like to start at the end of your life, knowing everything you would know and working back. Like, what if creativity itself means that you start at the end knowing what you have to do, and you're basically just listening to that finished version of yourself. Perfection doesn't exist. Perfection only really exists in the sense that we have to listen to our intuition and whatever that final version of ourselves is telling us to do. So that's how we combat writer's block and artist block and everything like that, is to just make something, to make anything. So in Tenet, stuff is being made while it's being unmade. You're watching a movie about things being unmade, and I just love that. I love thinking about it, I love talking about it, and that to me is it's the true gift of this film. Regardless of whether or not you got it, your paintings aren't meant to be gotten all the time. Music isn't meant to be gotten. And I kind of fight against this idea that films all have to make sense in a traditional way of like, oh, A happened and then B happened, and because B happened, C happened. You can get that in most movies. Most movies will follow that narrative, but if you want something more and something different, you can watch something like a David Lynch film, you can watch a Jordan Peele film or a Christopher Nolan film like this, which is, it's trying to give you something more and allowing you to go somewhere else that makes you question everything, which is my favorite portion of any painting, drawing, video game, movie that I watch. That's what makes me value it the most. If we consider this all an extension of a painting, and this film is a work of art, the story is supporting all of that. And the story it gets segmented at some point, because he goes through, all right, let's see if we can. Here's my understanding of what happened in Tenet. You got very handsome John David Washington, the protagonist. He's got a beard and he's got hair. And I'm gonna draw his suit, right? You got John David Washington. So he goes into the inverter. When you go into the inverter, you go backwards. He goes into the inverter, comes out. I'm gonna say this again. I didn't even expect to be drawing this right now, and this is why I love this movie so much. If we've been talking about a fucking lame movie, I wouldn't even be talking. I would not even be talking to you about a film that didn't make me think this way. That's the value of this. Anyway, so he comes out inverted. Everything is the opposite. In order to go forward, he has to go through the inverter. Tenet. I'm gonna write it down. If you're sitting there scratching your head, good. That's what Christopher Nolan wants you to do, is scratch your damn head and be like, what the fuck? In a good way though. It makes you think. I wouldn't be doing this if I were talking about The Lion King, because it's The Lion King. Simba dies. Is that what happens? I'm like, no, whatever. You go through, you come out doing the opposite. Okay, so this is the story of Tenet. I figured it out. It's all here. Anyone who has questions, you ask me. I'm gonna give you this drawing. I'm gonna give you a PDF, and this is all you need is this. It explains everything, honestly. You go through Tenet, you come out looking like me right now. When you go back through, you're going forward. You're going forward, and you go through here, you go back. But my understanding is you have to go back through this to go forward in time, right? In conclusion, Tenet is an addition to Christopher Nolan's body of work. The same way if Goya made a painting that took him 3 years to make, it's added on top of his body of work, and it's contained within some kind of oxygen-controlled environment. And I love that this movie fits so well with his other work. Those are the questions that I want to see people talk about, questions I want to see people ask themselves more. How does this exist with his other work? What are some of the elements that exist here and there? And what enjoyment can we get out of the questions that these movies are asking us to ask ourselves? This is you. You're John David Washington. You're gonna watch Tenet, and you're gonna come out being this John David Washington. You're gonna be green instead of red. You're gonna be different. You're gonna be moving backwards instead of forwards. And that's awesome. Thanks for watching. See you next time.